fourth and final type of metric conversion that I'd like to review with you is something that I call a derived unit metric conversion. Now, derived units are not very hard to understand. They're just got a funky name. This is a type of unit like density, where it's a unit over another unit, like grams over milliliters. And we have two units to now consider at the same time rather than just one. Let's look at an example problem so you can kind of see what I mean. So our first example problem is to convert 23.7 grams per liter into the units of kilograms per milliliter. Now there's a lot going on here at the same time, and the most important part of this problem is just simply the setup. Ordinarily, we do take our given amount and we put it over the number of 1. But in this case, there's actually something to put over instead of just 1. We have liters on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and start to set up our fraction, but notice how I set this sucker up. I put the 23.7 grams on the top because that's on the top part of the fraction. The liters is that's on the bottom, so I simply put the liters on the bottom of that unit. So again, that 23.7 grams, because that's on the top part of the fraction, goes to the top of my dimensional analysis, my unit conversion. And the liters, since that's on the bottom, is going to go in the bottom part of that fraction. Now the next thing I'm going to do is kind of focus in on that liters now. Since that's on the bottom and that's the confusing part, I'm simply going to ignore it for right now, which means also in my problem, I'm going to ignore the liters and the milliliters part. This transforms my problem into something I can more easily accomplish. I can actually convert 23.7 grams to kilograms pretty easily. We're going to go through the same steps that we've always done. The next step is to take the grams that I'm given, and I don't want them anymore, so they're going to slip down to the bottom of that next box. Then I'm going to go shopping for a metric conversion between grams and kilograms, and I have that right here. Next, put the numbers in the correct spots. In front of grams goes the number 10 to the third. And then the second part of that equivalence statement has to go to the top half of that fraction. So here comes my 1 kilogram. Now, if this was an ordinary problem, because I have kilograms, that's what my problem is asking me for, that's in my top last box, I could call it a day and grab my calculator and kind of celebrate my success. You can see my grams have crossed off, leaving me with nothing but kilograms. Unfortunately, at the beginning, we kind of ignored part of it. So now it's time to go back and deal with the part that we ignored. Those liters are still on the bottom, and I still need to convert them. So where are they going to go if they need to cross off? Because they're already on the bottom. Well, in this case, in a new fraction, again, I'm not done with my problem, so don't you dare pick up that calculator yet. You're not done. Pop another fraction onto the end of this next fraction, and that liters is going to slip up to the top of that fraction now to cancel out. And since I've already done my grams and my kilograms, I can kind of ignore that as part of my problem. In this case, I want to try and convert my liters into milliliters. But again, that's a problem that I can do. But if I look over at my metric conversion store, I don't see liters anywhere. So I'm simply going to swap out my base unit. I have my base unit right now set as grams, but I really need to consider liters. And now this looks a little bit more user-friendly. So I'm going to go shopping for something that has milliliters in it. And I found it right down here. And again, because I took the time to deal with my units first, now it's a simple matter of putting the right numbers into the right spots. In front of liters goes my 10 to the negative third. So here it goes. And then the second half of the equivalence statement is the 1 milliliter has to fill into the bottom of that next fraction. And that allows me to cancel out my liters. Liters is now gone. Now let's see what I'm left with unit-wise. I'm left with kilograms on the top, and I'm left with milliliters on the bottom. And if you'll notice, that's exactly what my problem was asking me to do. I wanted kilograms on the top and milliliters on the bottom. Now it's time to go to the calculator. So into the calculator, I would push 23.7. From my next fraction, 10 to the third is on the bottom, so I'm going to hit divided by 10 to the third. And then in the final fraction, 10 to the negative third is on the top, so I'm going to hit times 10 to the negative third, and then equals. And when I did that, I found the final answer to be equal to 2.37 times 10 to the negative fifth kilograms per milliliter.